Hi guys, what's going on? And welcome back to an episode of Total War Arena. So, what have we got today? Well, if you watched my video from a couple of days ago, then you'll have seen that we took a look at the Roman Italian Cavalry with Scipio. And today, quite a few people in the comments of that actually said, well, try it out with Sulla, see how you get on. And that's what I've been doing. I've been having a couple of games with Sulla with sort of mixed results. Basically, I find that once you get into a combat situation where you're sort of equal to or superior in numbers, I find them very effective because the proscription works, combined with the fact you can freely whip, which increases your melee attack, and then obviously the proscription decreases theirs, means that you can pretty ruthlessly cut people down. It's kind of like just Roman infantry, but really fast. And the whip is nice because it puts your movement speed up. And that works really well. The one downside I find to it is the fact that, one, you get quite a bad charge. You know, you lose Wrath of Mars, which is a reasonable charge, gives that plus 40% impact damage. And on top of that, I find that if you get into a situation where you're quite outnumbered or a bit flanked, surrounded, then you can't really make use of whip because obviously you risk routing. And sort of that lack of oath perseverance can occasionally actually be a bit of a shame. But by and large, I must admit, it's better than I thought it was going to be. So, with that in mind, I sort of picked a replay out which I thought was kind of interesting because it shows how they can tackle on infantry pretty effectively. So let's hop into that and see how we get on. So, we are loading into our replay on Georgovia. Not exactly my favourite cavalry map, but we'll make do. Yeah, so these guys, yeah, it's nice obviously you get the whip, which if I can pop onto the movement speed before the whip goes off, yeah, you get 8.76 compared to 7.13, which is obviously the traditional Roman speed you get with Scipio, and with any other Roman commander you choose to use with him. So, yeah, the faster movement speed, look, we're getting up to 10 on a road, is actually pretty decent. It means you're quicker than other cav. You should be quicker than probably the most Greek cavalry, and you're going to be a similar-ish sort of speed to the Carthaginian cavalry, probably a little bit slower. Obviously, you will certainly be significantly slower still than the barbarian cavalry, because they're just easily the fastest cavalry in the game. But yeah, nice little bit of speed does make a bit of difference. So I was just chasing down these legionary cavalry. I was clumped up a little bit, not particularly well done. And then as we ran the corner, we see there was a handful of Romans there. I was largely expecting that, so yeah, I just decided to pull back. In many ways, it might have been a bit of a risky move, because if one of those legionary cavalry had turned on me, then I would be in a situation facing off against a larger force of Romans, so probably not really worthwhile doing that chase. So I decided, given the situation, given the amount of units that are turning up, and the fact that this enemy tier 7 cavalry is loitering pretty closely to their infantry, there's not a lot to really be gained by me staying around here. So I pull back, start to look for my next opportunity. And I do that pulling along this road. I see there's not really a lot here in the centre. Most of our stuff's going up the hill, point over here. I thought, oh, let's go up the middle, see what we can see. I do get some spots on this Numidian cavalry down here, which is going in for a pretty effective javelin throw here in the back of these Romans. And then I'm just looking for my opportunities. I think maybe just in case this Numidian cavalry is not paying attention, I spread out into my line. I don't want to be attacking as a blob, not in this sort of situation anyway. But the Numidian cavalry spot me and pull back. And, you know, it's kind of an example of where, in this sort of situation, I'm not really going to be able to catch those guys. Though they did actually get caught by Romans, I didn't notice that at the time. So, yeah, I'm just looking for my targets. I can't really decide what I want to do. You know, these infantry are a possible target, but they need to be engaged by something else first. And with the presence of the elephants, it's just not really going to work out for me. So that's kind of why I'm a bit reluctant to come down this way. So I think, right, let's push up onto the hill. See if we can see anything on here for me to go for. And again, kind of a similar situation, really. There's a handful of Numidians here. I didn't quite what they're intending to do. They can't seem to decide. But really, down here, it's just a pitched infantry fight. I don't want to be pushing into the back of this. And there's no easy way around this. Maybe a snip around here. But I think maybe I could push down the hill and flank round this way. Although, I do decide we might as well kill off those couple of Numidians first and get rid of them. Which we'll promptly do, without problem. So I'm pushing down the hill and then sort of looking for my next opportunity. So yeah, I'm thinking about pushing around the back here. But by the time I actually get anywhere near sort of getting down this hill, I'm still whipping myself trying to get speed. You know, we come back down here. Really, the battle is already lost. Both of these guys are vengeanced. But the higher tier unit, not unsurprisingly, winning. Along with the backup from the Scipio Italian nobles. It's just really enough to overwhelm these infantry. So I decided there's not a lot of point in doing that. Now, this is where I finally find some targets I'm interested in. Firstly, there's this Roman unit on its own. You've got to remember, I was also trying to see how Sulla is going to perform in this sort of situation. So, initially, I charge him with one unit. just slow down very briefly here. First thing to observe is the fact that the impact damage is really crap. 2,000 for a cavalry charge, really quite poor. The Roman infantry, I don't really know what they were thinking. They couldn't seem to decide what to do. They were maybe going into form combat. No, they were pulling away for a little bit. Means they took quite a bit of damage before they realised what they're doing. And I pull back and get a second charge in. Again, pretty negligible damage on the charge. But they're now flanked on the other way, and I bring my other unit in from the other side, just trying to get sufficient flanks on them. Now, bearing in mind they are proscription, so their melee attack is only 77, which is really quite low. And we're whips. You can see that we're doing 20,000 damage to them for what, a couple of hundred? So in this sort of situation, they haven't got Vengeance activated. I am keeping a close eye on that. If they activate Vengeance, I'll activate my strike and then pull out of there as quickly as I can. But no, they just go down. Ultimately, it gets enough just to rout them just about to that -3, which is perfect. And yeah, they rout pretty easily. I pretty much killed all those units for basically no losses, and that was a whole unit of Romans basically dead. So I'm pulling out of this thinking, what am I going to do next? There's still quite a few of them kicking around. I'm sort of watching out for Vengeance, who was in what. Thinking about whether to go for some of these Romans, particularly after the success I had here. I was thinking that maybe these guys can really compete with Roman infantry on a sort of a fair level. So I go for a charge against these guys and really badly run myself into a cliff. We'll ignore that. I don't know why I did that. So at this point then, I'm just trying to sort of micromanage this engagement to set it up how I want it to be. Go for a charge with these guys. They're a bit late on the heavy infantry charge, so they don't do much damage to me, but that's something to bear in mind. Push into them and then rear flank them as well. Again, it's not a particularly effective charge. I thought I was going to get these guys rout, but we actually lose the rear flank modifier, which is a shame. And they just managed to pull back, I think, just in time from the routing. But you can see already the sort of damage I'm getting into these guys. We're already up to 12,000 for what? 1,200 and 500? And these guys just go down pretty quickly because this prescription is killer. But then I noticed they have got Vengeance activated, which is significantly increasing their stats. And then just as I was considering pulling out the fight, our friendly ally cavalry charged in, got that flank on them, and they routed, which not only means they're really easy to kill, but also got rid of the Vengeance. So if they recover from that rout, it doesn't really matter because they've lost their Vengeance and they're not going to be able to do anything anyway. So I then get recharged by this next unit of Romans. Again, it just shows the effectiveness of prescription in this sort of situation where they don't really do anything to me. This is just perfect, isn't it? You can see that they're struggling to land hits on me, largely because their melee attack now is just quite low. They're getting a bit of a bonus from Benny by the looks of it, which is actually proving quite beneficial to them. I should have perhaps focused down this last of the Caesar unit. But yeah, the bonus of that still not enough to really allow them to land much damage. And you can see how it pans out. We can just slaughter these guys really quite easily. And this is where Sulla as a cavalry commander is just awesome in this sort of situation. Where I'm dominant, I'm not completely flanked, I'm not struggling too much with morale or anything like that. So I can keep my whip going the whole time. It's just a case of trying to micromanage the whip, which I'm sometimes a bit slow at doing, like that. I was a couple of seconds too late. It's a case of micromanaging the whip, continually getting my strike going every 10-15 seconds, whatever the cooldown is, and continually cycling through my little presence buff. So it's just a case of micromanaging what's going on, and really pretty easy to focus down single units like this because there's just not a lot they can do to help themselves because they're just surrounded, and the prescription really just kills their attacking capability. If, of course, I was fighting on my own, or where that unit activated Vengeance earlier, if my ally hadn't charged in to get that rout, I would have considered activating a strike to get the knockback and then pulling out of that engagement because, obviously, I don't want to be fighting a Vengeance Roman because, of course, they will overpower me pretty quickly. But most infantry units won't immediately pop a Vengeance. I would have fought on a cavalry charge. I would be reluctant to, because most cavalry aren't going to be able to stay prolongedly engaged with Roman melee infantry anyway. It's only Sulla Cavalry that really gets away with this in this sort of situation. And that's all down to the debuffs from prescription. And then, of course, the buffs you get from a whip as well makes it quite effective. The also around this makes it quite effective against things like Oath of Perseverance, because you can prescription him, which makes his attack basically negligible. And then by using your whip, you're then able to really make your melee attack values exceed his defense he gets through his Oath of Perseverance. So it's quite good for breaking Oath of Perseverance units, I find. So, and that is pretty much victory for us in this game. 2-2 on the aggression. Not an amazing game, but I think it kind of demonstrates quite well how powerful Sulla can be against Roman infantry. Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I'm not sure it should really be like that, to be honest. You would expect Roman infantry facing Roman cavalry should be able to win. That's not really supposed to be the goal of cavalry, but combined with proscription, it certainly makes it quite an effective unit. So yeah, I would certainly recommend, if you are a Roman cavalry player, I agree with the comments from the previous video. Try them out with Sulla. They do actually work pretty well. So yeah, I've still got a bit of upgrading to do with these guys though before I'm finished. Obviously, yes, it's only going to get better, particularly where I'm mostly interested in things like the plus 11 melee defense or plus 12 melee defense there. Going to make quite a difference to their defensive stats, because that adds quite a high percentage. You know, it's like a 12 to 15% increase, something like that, which is going to be quite a significant buff to their melee defense. Particularly, that's going to work nicely with proscription, which is of course lowering the enemy's melee attack. So anyway, hopefully a bit of an interesting video. Yeah. Good spot with the suggestions on the last one to try out Sulla. I think I'm probably going to be more inclined to stick with Sulla as the cavalry commander than I am with Scipio now. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel for lots more Total War Arena content, and I shall see you all on the next video. Thanks guys.